welcome to Scrollin', episode 105. I'm Ket, and Davius is on vacation this week celebrating the freedom of our nation, July 4th. He and his family took a little trip, so I thought about inviting a guest to help me to take Davius' spot for this episode, but I decided to just go ahead and fly solo, do it myself. Mostly just due to laziness and me not really kind of taking the opportunity to save on editing time and that kind of stuff. I've been pretty busy here lately, so that sounded pretty enticing. So it's just going to be me doing a little bit of a monologue, kind of like the good old days, like the first 10 episodes, I think it was. It was just me by myself. Let's see if I've gotten any better at it. So, I mean, as far as Necrom, I think we talked all about our thoughts and everything on the last episode, and I don't think any thoughts have changed as far as our impressions of the content or anything like that. We're pretty much exactly 1 month in, like 4 weeks into the patch at this point. So I think most people who are going to do the content, they've done it by now, and we're just kind of cruising right along in this meta. I'm thinking, just based on their usual schedule of things, we should have the next PTS in maybe 2 or 3 weeks. I'm thinking maybe 2 weeks, because it's typically like every 6 weeks. Like we get a patch, then 6 weeks later we get a PTS, and then the patch drops 6 weeks after that, and on. Is generally how it goes. It's not always exactly like that though. So um, anyway, we're already coming up on the next cycle. As far as what's in store for Q3, we know that there's no content, right? They've told us that it's not going to be a dungeon pack like it's been in the past. They're just focusing on quality of life and bug fixes and performance, and that kind of stuff is what the Q3 patch is going to be all about. But keep in mind that quality of life can mean big things. The set curation system is a quality of life feature, and that's like a total game changer ever since they implemented that thing. Jorel in the chat says they better give the BG lobby or we riot. Yeah, that's something we've been kind of hanging on to hope with that reveal event earlier in the year where they were kind of giving us a preview of what's to come in ESO this year. They did say the words pre-made group finder, and we talked all about it at that time, and kind of had our conspiracy theories and everything. But I think there is something to that, because that event that I'm talking about, that was a scripted event. Like, I'm pretty sure they were straight up reading off of teleprompters. Like he didn't just randomly say the word pre-made group finder. That was an intentional thing, and I think that they very well know what, like, how we use those words in the game. Like pre-made, that's pretty much only a word you use in association with battlegrounds. Really, no other context. So there's a good chance something like that is coming. But there's also, I think, an equally good chance that we're just like imagining, taking that one little thing and going way too far with it. But I sure do hope so. That would alleviate so much for the PvP community. Make things so much easier for us, when there are nights when, like when we have our guild events, our BG party nights, and we have like a bunch of duos queued up, and it's still taking forever for the queue to pop, even though there's more than enough people right here in the Discord to fill up a full match. It's like, it's frustrating because we just want to play some BGs, and we're like fighting the system. So if we can have a lobby where we just, okay, everyone in the guild is in this lobby, and the match, there is no queue. You just push the start button and you go. I'm hoping that they'll let us select, of course, the game mode. Obviously, like, it'd be really nice if we can just choose deathmatch. That's a no-brainer. But it would also be nice if they let us choose the map as well, and also have a random option for both as well, for the game mode and the map. So you can specifically pick or make it random. That would be really nice. 'Cause I feel like for a lot of like guild events and stuff, I'd want that really tiny Coliseum map. Yeah, we'll keep an eye on that. Maybe, hopefully, by the next Scroll and Podcast episode, we'll have some Q3 PTS stuff to be talking about. I think if not the next episode, then almost certainly the episode after that. Almost certainly. In PvP land, it is White Streaks Mayhem is going on once again. You may be thinking we just had White Streaks Mayhem, and that's true. We did. It was, what was it, maybe a month ago? Uncle Sam, welcome to the chat, buddy. So yeah, White Streaks Mayhem, it's going on once again. We just had, was it like a month ago or not very long ago? But there was, I can't remember the circumstances, but we skipped a White Streaks Mayhem event a while back, and so we're making up for that now. So it's an interesting thing though, because since we just had the Mayhem event not too long ago, it feels like the excitement and the hype, it's just not there this time. Like um, we've been queuing into Imperial City and stuff, and we're not really seeing those big zergs and stuff. I mean, we're definitely seeing more activity than you normally would see in Imperial City, certainly. But it's not just like popping off like it was the last time. And the BG queues, same way, like group queue is like 20-30 minute wait time, um, which was not the case the last Mayhem event. So it feels like people are still sort of satiated from the last time, and they're really not super excited about it this time. And there's a little bit more participation, but not like it was the last time. As a public service announcement, the gold vendor has been updated for these White Strikes Mayhem event. They have new sets like Rallying Cry and Mara's Balm, probably some others, but those are kind of the big two everyone's flipping out about. They had necklaces this past weekend, and this coming weekend they'll have the rings. So if you're hearing this before the weekend, don't forget to get in there and get those. These things will be great to have or to resell later. But yeah, we've been doing a little Imperial City. Like I said, it's been, I don't know, it's been pretty fun. I mean, it's not like I haven't ran into any like big zergs or anything like that, and we haven't had like a real like organized squad, like optimized squad like we did last time. We've just been kind of taking random characters and Televar farming. The Televar farming's been really nice. Or just earlier today, me and Sam and who else was it? Morty and the other Sam Tarley. We were at Imperial City in one of the lesser populated campaigns, and we were coming across a bunch of scrubs. I mean, I hate to say it, but that's what they were. They died really easily. But I guess they'd been doing a lot of farming because we were getting like 1,000, 2,000 Televar off of each one of them. Like each one of us was getting that much off of them. So they had to be carrying 10K or more, I guess. Um, so I think I'm like around 100K Telvar right now, which I know isn't like an outrageous amount, but it's pretty comfortable for me. I don't sell it. I don't buy Hackajos and sell them. I just keep the Telvar and buy Hackajos for myself to make Tri-Stat glyphs as I need them. It's been pretty dull on like compared to the last one. Like last one, that excitement was there because it's been quite a while since last time, and there was a lot of people in there. And it was like such a wide spectrum of experiences you would have like in Imperial City. Like there's a bunch of people who don't normally do PvP in there, and so you'd find yourself being able to like 1v10 people, feeling like a god, which is not normally possible for me, certainly not. So you'll have situations like that, but then you'll have other situations where there's just like these like unstoppable ball groups, and and you kind of have everything in between there as well. This time it hasn't really seemed like that at all. It's like kind of these little one-off skirmishes here and there. We ran into one pretty decent group earlier today that they got us a few times. They were just the better group, right? I mean, that's just the way it was. They were actually pretty organized, and they were coordinating their ultimates and stuff, and they were just playing very, very defensively. Like they were not attacking at all. They were just focusing on staying alive until they were ready for an ult dump, and then it was an ult dump, and they'd wipe us, And then they just go back to turtling right back up. We'd run back to them to try to fight them again. It was just kind of right back to the same strategy again. Worked really well for them. Um, yeah, we did get them a couple times. We certainly did. That is true. That heavy attack Joral says in the chat. That heavy attack thing was fixed in PvP. I forgot about that, but yeah, that is true. Now that I think about it, I wasn't getting just nuked by those heavy attacks the way was the last time. So maybe that's a factor in why not as many PvE people are finding their way in there because they don't have their easy button anymore. So yeah, the White Strake Mayhem event kind of Dolesville, and honestly, like I'm not just trying to complain, but I've seen a lot of people express this sentiment, and I've been feeling it as well. The meta in general is just kind of stale right now, and it seems crazy to say that because we just got this new class. But surprisingly, like we've said before, the class hasn't really shaken things up all that much. Like the Arcanist, it kind of fit right in. It kind of feels like they've always been here. I'm not really having to account for them in my builds or in, you know, I don't know, matches where Arcanists are in there. There's no like special thing I'm having to do that I wasn't having to do before. So the meta just kind of feels the same, which is I think really impressive, and I think it's actually a testament to the developers. They actually did a really great job of introducing this new class that it's not broken, like it actually functions, right? Like really not buggy. I mean, I'm sure there are some bugs here and there, but me personally, with the build that I've been using, everything works good. It's a good strong class with lots of really great strength. They're not crazy overpowered. Um, they're defensively a bit overpowered. They're very difficult to kill. But otherwise, like offensively, not really. Like they have the tools to do damage, but I wouldn't say overpowered by any means. So they're just not frustrating to deal with. The most frustrating thing is, man, they sure are hard to kill. But in that case, I can always just opt to stop attacking them and go find a squishier target. Go find a Sorc to attack. Um, so yeah, kudos to Zos for introducing this class and doing a great job of that. But now I'm hoping with Q3, now that we've had this really smooth introduction of this new class, let's go ahead and shake things up. Let's get this meta shaken up. It's a weird thing, you see this conversation all the time about how people are sick of the meta always changing. They're sick of getting a build locked in, and they spend all these transmutes getting the traits all right, and they gold it all out and all this stuff. And then the meta changes, and a bunch of stuff gets nerfed, a bunch of stuff gets buffed, you get new sets introduced, whatever, and that build's no longer viable, or it's no longer as competitive as it used to be. And so people get frustrated over that, and I understand that. But now we can see right here the alternative, because it's been a while. Like all my builds have been locked in for several months now, and they've all been viable. They've all continued to function for, I don't know, probably 6 months now. And it makes me realize that, like, a major part of what this game is just making builds. You're on that treadmill of getting gear and getting your transmutes to get the traits that you need and all that stuff. And it's just a major part of the game is like getting your build together. And when that stops being a factor, when it's been months now since I've really needed to update a build, a major part of what I spend my time doing in this game is kind of absent now. But it's like that's the I don't know, is dichotomy the right word? That's just the which way do we want to have it? Do we want to have it where we can lock in and build and not have to change it all the time, and we can just really be happy with the build that we have forever? Or do we want actually like to have an interesting changing meta where we have a reason to update the builds, where we have a reason to log in and do some dungeons or, play the game to get the build together? That's like I said, that's what I think the game mostly is getting that build together, and then you go test it out and you're like, yeah, it's a good build, sweet, I did good, and then the meta changes and you do it again. When it stays locked in like this for a long period of time, I don't know. Like I have some builds that are really, really good, but for me, once I prove to myself that the build is good, I'm like, yep, I think it's a perfect build. I don't need to change it. Like old Betsy, she's totally locked in. at that point, I don't personally feel the need to keep playing with that build all the time, you know? I it's the process of making the build that I mostly enjoy. So I'm hoping in Q3 we shake things up a little bit. That's what I'm hoping. So, just in the last couple of weeks of playing BGs, to me, it seems like more people are trying to build for damage. I'm not seeing quite as many tanks. Of course, with the objective modes and stuff, there's always going to be tanks because there's always going to be people who just want to stand on flags. But the BGs have been a lot more intense lately. I've actually been having to, really watch my back and really work to stay alive. So people are building for damage. I've been getting double-digit kills on a pretty regular basis, which for a long time that just wasn't happening. Like a 6 or 7 kill count was pretty darn high there for a while. But now it's pretty normal to get 15 or more, in a match for the people that, like me and Uncle Sam and Wanna Buy My Dog and Jorl and the people that we normally play with. I think that's a pretty regular occurrence in our BGs these days. Even outside of this event, you know. I think just more people are trying to build for damage, and it might just be because it has been so stagnant for so long. People are just trying to, add a little excitement to the gameplay. Let's have some damage, which is nice. That's always, the best way to be in PvP. Like everyone just builds for damage and try to kill each other. Everyone can die. Everyone can kill other people. That's the best way to play. Anyway, as far as like builds I've been playing with, of course I've been playing with Betsy again, especially with this event going on. I like to spend a lot of time with Betsy, my Stamplar, my main. Her build is the same that it's been for a very long time, but I haven't talked about it in a little while, so I'll just remind people what it is. This is, in my opinion, the best Stamplar build you can make. It is Deadly Strikes as a double bar set, Wretched Vitality as a back bar set with a bow. I have the perfected Black Rose dual maces on the front bar, Gaze of Sithis Mythic Helm, and one piece magma incarnate. For the shoulder piece, it's a medium armor setup, all well fitted. Serpent Mundus Stone for sustain, or if I'm in a pre-made, I'll switch to the Apprentice Mundus to get the spell damage instead, because sustain's usually pretty well taken care of in a group. But you get lots of really great defensiveness from the Gaze of Sithis Mythic Helm, the Black Rose dual wield. Vigor's giving you minor resolve. Of course, you have major resolve from your rune. Templars are also just super survivable these days. They got some really great buffs. That rune now heals you all the time, whether you're standing in it or not, and it's a pretty decent heal even when you're not standing in it. And when you are standing in it, it's an extremely good heal. I can definitely feel that survivability. It scales off of health, but I just have 30k health, and I still can very much feel that heal. It's really, really nice. And it's all about the AoE pulses, right? So it's the Deadly Cloak, it's Solar Barrage, Blood Mist, the Blood Mist morph of Mist form gives you an AoE damage thing that follows you around. Crescent Sweep, when you cast that gives you a pulse. And then we spam jabs on top of all that. So it's all just AoE, and it's all AoE that is like stuck to your character, right? So wherever you go, there's just like this aura of pain that surrounds you. And it's really nice. It's helpful for a lot of reasons. It's a nice Nightblade detector, because a lot of those things like the Blade Cloak and Solar Barrage, the visual effect will only go off if there is someone around for it to hit. So if those abilities are active and suddenly you see them just kind of go off out of nowhere, there must be a Nightblade around. So that's a handy little thing. You'll also just accidentally get kills all the time. Like I've killed people that have like they've been low on health, and they'll stun me, and they'll be trying to like take me out while I'm stunned on the ground, but the AoE pulses that are still going on around my character go ahead and kill that person while I'm still stunned on the ground. And of course, just diving into a group and going ham. If you have a healer and you can just kind of dive in there and go nuts for a little while, you'll be snatching all kinds of kills just from that that aura of damage that's going around. Just anyone who gets low on health, there's a very good chance one of those ticks of one of those pulses is going to be the killing blow. So you just kind of end up racking up a fair amount of kills with this build. Honor the Dead, Extended Ritual, Reviving Barrier, and of course Vigor. Those are my healing abilities. And Sugar Skulls for the food, Tri-Stat Potions, Bloodthirsty Jewelry. She is speed capped, even though I haven't really gone out of my way to really invest in speed. It's all well fitted on the armor, and it's 5 medium. And she's an orc, and she has a bow, so she has the major expedition. So with all those things combined, when she's sprinting, she is over the speed cap, actually very slightly over the speed cap. So even without Swift Jewelry or without the Steed Mundus or any of that stuff, we still have really, really good movement speed, and the Sustain feels really nice as well, plus Mist Form giving us that extra boost of mobility. So it still feels like just as kind of kitey and slippery as always. I don't feel like I've sacrificed in that department at all. And I think this is, like I said, I think this is about the best Stamina Templar build you can make that isn't just like a proc cheese build that you could slap on any class. This actually feels like a build that you really only can do on a Stamplar. It plays into their strengths. It works really, really well on them. I think that's what I like about it, is you really wouldn't be able to put this setup on just any class and have it perform as well as it does on Betsy here. And then the only other build, I mean, I've kind of been hopping around the roster a little bit, but the only build I've really spent a lot of time with lately is my Arcanist, whose name is Randolph. And it's still the same build as last time. It's Wretched Vitality as a back bar set, Briarheart on the front bar. The back bar weapon is a bow, front bar weapon is a lightning staff. And I have the Gaze of Sithis Mythic Helm and 3 agility on the jewelry. It's another medium armor setup with all well fitted, all bloodthirsty on the jewelry. Sugar Skulls for the food, the standard setup. I've been looking for a better set than Briarheart. That was meant to just be a temporary set until I find something else, but I'm just not really finding anything that's significantly better. And I already have this set, golded out and in the proper traits and all that stuff. So I think I'm just sticking with it. I've been getting great results with it, so I don't really see a big reason to change. I mean, I could do a Way of Fire or do one of the meta sets that everyone's using. But, I kind of just like to rely on the class abilities and play the class and not really have to play around these sets specifically. I feel like Briarheart's about as good as any other option out there. So, yeah, the offensive abilities are the Fulminating Rune. I have the Cephaliarch's Flail, the tentacle, that's the stamina morph of the tentacle. I have the Escalating Rune Blades, class spammable. I have that Rune of the Colorless Pool, that's the Fear morph of the CC ability. I don't know, I've heard some people say that they like the Charm and they think there's a real advantage to the Charm morph, but I don't see it. I don't really see it, especially since that's the only thing that morph does, is it makes it a charm instead of a fear. So you're just trading one hard CC for another hard CC. They're both, in my mind, they're both equally advantageous. But the other morph, it keeps it a fear, but it also applies minor brittle to the target. So you're doing more damage to them in that case. I feel like that's a much more clear, obvious benefit that I'm getting there, rather than just switching the type of hard CC that it's doing. But I've really been enjoying playing with the Arcanist. It's one that I definitely have to kind of resist just logging in with every time, because it's a very kind of easy, comfortable choice to just grab that Arcanist. It's a very cozy build, a very comfortable build. We've mentioned lots of times how it's almost impossible to kill an Arcanist, unless you just get the jump on them and catch them with their buffs down and stuff like that. But if they're ready for you, you're almost certainly not going to kill them. So I like them for that reason, because I can just kind of jump in the middle of things and not really worry too much. And the damage, in my experience, the damage is there. I've seen a lot of people say that they don't think the offense is really all that great. And I'm not using the beam. I'm really crutching on that tentacle. Now, I think I could see how in like dueling, like a 1v1 sort of situation, maybe they're not great in that situation. That's not really the world that I exist in. I pretty much just do BGs. And for battlegrounds, man, they seem top tier. They seem like really, really great. I pretty much never have a bad match on my Arcanist. Let's read some emails. Scrollingpodcast@gmail.com. That is the email address. You can send in any questions, any suggestions for the show, tell us a joke, say hello, share your favorite recipe, shout out to a friend or a family member, whatever you want. Scrollingpodcast@gmail.com is the place to send it. And every week we will select one person to receive a gold prize, as long as you're on the PCNA server. It's varying amounts each time, but this time we decided to go ahead and go big, and we're going to give away 1 million gold to a lucky emailer. So first email comes from Uncle Sam. The subject is shout out to Jorl, Grizzly Khan, and every soccer mom full of Telvar in Imperial City. So Sam says, want to shout out these two legendary goons for the ridiculous Telvar farm. We weren't really hardcore farming, as we took every PvP fight we could possibly get, but every Telvar farmer and their nan were chock full of free Telvar, so we helped ourselves. Jorl and myself were on Wardens, Jorl on a Stam, and myself on a Mag, and Grizzly was on his Sam Sorc. The motley crew skipped around Imperial City, robbing from the rich and giving to, well, ourselves. Thanks for the trip, guys. Nice. Thanks for writing in, Sam. Yeah, we did a little bit of traipsing around Imperial City earlier today as well, and similar sort of situation where we were running into, any kind of PvP opportunity we found. Of course, we were taking it. But yeah, the people that we found were a lot of non-PvP people that had been farming Telvar from bosses and stuff, and they were loaded up, and we just helped ourselves. So yeah, I got to experience that with you shortly after you sent this email. But yeah, that's kind of been how it is though. Like the PvP, the actual PvP community doesn't really seem to be getting out there, or at least not yet. And so actually that is our only email. Sam, you sent our only email. So you win by default, man. Actually, new rule, you have to be in the chat when we announce the winner. So I guess you forfeit. No, just kidding. Sam gets 1 mil. Let me write it down. Sam 1 mil. See, it could be an easy mill, folks. You just write in an email. You might be the only person that sends one that week, and then it's a guaranteed chunk of gold coming your way. Scrollingpodcast@gmail.com. It could be something like Sam wrote in here. Just tell us a story. It doesn't even have to be a question or anything, or a game we could play or whatever. We have a guild. The guild's name is Stoon's Goons. It is literally the best PvP guild in the game. That also just so happens to be. Wait, hold on. I forgot the plug. It is what? It's literally the best PvP guild in the game that also just so happens to be the best named guild on the PCNA server. And it's also the official guild of the Scrollin' Podcast. If you'd like to join Stoon's Goons, we're on the PCNA server. You can send me an email or send us an email at scrollandpodcast@gmail.com and I'll send you an invite. If you're not on PCNA or if your guild roster is full, then just come join the Discord. That's where the action is really happening anyway. That's where we're sharing memes and talking about build ideas, and just kind of general guild communications happen in the Discord for the most part. And anyone who's in the Discord is a fully fledged goon. The in-game membership is not required. You're welcome to come along on any and everything that we do. So scrollandpodcast@gmail.com, and I'll send you an invite to the guild or the Discord or both. If you'd like to, Jorl's making fun of me fumbling over the words there. Thanks, buddy. If you'd like to support the show, one easy thing you can do is go to the Apple Podcast app and find our show and give us a star rating and especially a written review. That'll help us out. If you'd like to go further than that, you can go to patreon.com/scrollinpodcast and receive Stoon's Boon for $3 a month. That gets you some extra Discord benefits, a guaranteed shout out on every episode, access to the Booncast, which is a shorter podcast that I do on the off weeks. We have some videos, some written build guides, and of course, the greatest gift of all is just knowing that you're helping support the show and keeping this thing going. If you can't do Patreon right now, then just come join the Discord. It doesn't cost anything to do that. We have one of the best communities on the internet, and we'd love to have you. Everyone's welcome. So scrollinpodcast@gmail.com once again to get that invite. Shout out to the chat. Jorl has been here the whole time. He was the first one here, the last one out. Uncle Sam joined us for a while. Want to buy my dog. CPU Scientist was in here for like 30 seconds, I think. Thanks, guys, for joining us. Shout out to Uncle Sam, Jorl, Slavka, Want to Buy My Dog, CPU Scientist, Wilhelm, aka Morty. We've been playing together quite a bit lately. Those are all just a bunch of great people. Always enjoy hanging out with them. Shout out to the Elder Goons, the OGs. Thank you guys for being around for so long and being our friends. And shout out to our Stoon's Boon recipients, our Patreon supporters, Pork Body, Toadster, Gummy Bear, Grizzly Con, Thomas, Taggart, and Mother of Dragons. Thank you guys so much. So I think that is the end of this episode. It's a shorter one than usual. Davies will be back on the next episode, and it'll be back to business as usual. I kind of have a feeling we'll have a lot to talk about at that time. I don't know. It's kind of getting time for the next cycle to be starting up and stuff. So we will see. Until then, thank you very much for listening, and we'll see you next time.